There are some stories that don't have an ending. They have a final, known moment, and then nothing. They become a collection of questions, a puzzle with missing pieces, a void that pulls in speculation and fear. They are not merely stories of the missing, but chronicles of absence itself, of the spaces people leave behind and the unanswerable questions that echo within them, growing louder with each passing year. This is the story of Maura Murray and the road where her life, as we know it, came to a stop. The place is Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire, a winding ribbon of asphalt also known as the Kankamagas Highway. It's a road that carves its way through the immense, indifferent wilderness of the White Mountain National Forest. In the winter, it's a place of stark, desolate beauty, where the cold is a physical presence and the silence is absolute, broken only by the wind in the skeletal trees. The date is February 9th, 2004. Around 7:30 p.m., a black 1996 Saturn sedan spun out on a sharp corner and came to rest in a snowbank. The driver, a 21-year-old nursing student named Maura Murray, was alone. She wasn't hurt, but she was hundreds of miles from her dorm at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, on a road that didn't lead to her supposed destination. This is the last place anyone can say for certain that they saw her. And this is where the mystery begins. To understand a disappearance, you must first understand the departure. And to understand the departure, you must understand the pressures that were converging on this young woman's life. Maura Murray was, by all accounts, exceptional. A star athlete in high school, she was accepted into the prestigious United States Military Academy at West Point. She was bright, driven, and disciplined, but the rigid environment of West Point was not for her. After 2 years, she left, following an incident involving shoplifting makeup from the base commissary. A minor infraction, perhaps, but a crack in the perfect facade. She transferred to the competitive nursing program at UMass Amherst, seeking a new path. But trouble, it seemed, had a way of finding her. She was struggling in some of her classes and was also dealing with the emotional fallout of an affair with a track coach at West Point. The life she was building was more complicated than it appeared on the surface. Her journey into the mountains wasn't impulsive. It was the culmination of a deeply troubled, chaotic 72-hour period. The timeline of events leading up to that Monday night is critical. It's a cascade of personal crises that seem to build toward an inevitable breaking point. On the Thursday night prior, while on duty at her campus security job, Maura took a phone call. Her supervisor found her moments later, completely vacant, her face a mask of tears. She was described as catatonic. When her supervisor finally managed to get a response, all Maura could utter was a whispered, 2-word phrase, "My sister." But her sister, Kathleen, was fine. They spoke later that night, and Kathleen, who had her own past struggles with addiction, tried to comfort her. To this day, no one knows who called or what was said. Was it a cruel prank? A devastating piece of news that turned out to be false? Or was the phrase, "my sister," a coded response to something else entirely, a secret she carried that had suddenly been exposed? Perhaps it was a reference to her relationship with her boyfriend, Billy Roche, which was reportedly under strain. We may never know, but whatever the trigger, it was a clear sign that Maura's world was fracturing. The weekend only escalated the pressure. Her father, Fred Murray, was in town. They went car shopping, a normal father-daughter ritual. On Saturday night, Maura borrowed his new Toyota Corolla to go to a dorm party. In the early hours of Sunday morning, on her way back, she crashed it. The damage was significant, nearly $10,000. Fred was understanding, but for a perfectionist like Maura, it was another failure, another secret to keep from others, another heavy weight. The accident report noted she was shaken and disoriented. This was the first of 2 car crashes in less than 3 days. Then came the emails on Monday morning. To her professors and her work supervisor, she sent a message. "I am sorry I am missing class and work this week. I had a death in the family." It was a lie. There was no funeral to attend. She was creating a space, a 7-day window of unaccountability. She methodically packed a bag, clothes, toiletries, makeup, and, curiously, her nursing textbooks. Why bring textbooks for a week-long escape? Was it a sign of her intention to return, to pick up where she left off? Or was it simply the act of a student grabbing what felt important without thinking? She also packed her birth control pills, suggesting she wasn't planning on harming herself. Her digital footprint from that day reveals a mind in motion. She searched online for directions to the Berkshires and to Burlington, Vermont. She called to inquire about a condo rental in Bartlett, New Hampshire, a place her family had vacationed before. But she made no reservations. She withdrew $280 from an ATM, almost every dollar in her account. At a liquor store, she purchased an assortment of alcoholic beverages, Bailey's, Kahlua, vodka, and a box of Franzia wine. It was a strange collection. Some have called it a party for one, others the supplies for a desperate, lonely week of forgetting. The MapQuest directions found in her car were for Burlington, Vermont. She had looked for lodging in that area, but Route 112 was not the way to Burlington. She was driving east into the mountains, not north. Was she lost? Did she change her mind? Or was Burlington a deliberate misdirection, a breadcrumb for anyone who might come looking? She was driving into the heart of the White Mountains, a place where you can easily get lost, even when you don't want to. Back on Route 112, a local school bus driver named Butch Atwood was finishing his route. He came around a sharp bend, known locally as the Weathered Barn, and saw the Saturn, its nose buried in the snowbank, its hazard lights off. He pulled over. He saw Maura, shivering in the cold, but her demeanor was surprisingly composed. He asked if she needed him to call the police. Her response was immediate and firm. "Don't call the police." She claimed she'd already called AAA, but Butch knew there was no cell service on that road. It was an impossible claim. He offered her a ride to his home, just a few hundred yards away, where she could wait in the warmth and he could make a call for her. Again, she refused. "No, thank you." Butch Atwood was left with a profound sense of unease. He knew something was wrong. A young woman, a wrecked car, a cold night, and a refusal of all help. He drove home and, despite her wishes, called the police. He looked out his window and could still see the car. The call was logged at 7:43 p.m. A Haverhill police officer, Cecil Smith, was dispatched. He arrived at 7:46 p.m. In the 7 to 8 minutes between Butch leaving the scene and Officer Smith arriving, Maura Murray vanished. The scene itself presented more questions than answers. The car was locked. There were no footprints leading away into the deep snow of the surrounding forest, which would have been the obvious sign of someone fleeing on foot. A rag had been stuffed into the car's tailpipe. Her father, Fred, would later say it was a simple trick to prevent exhaust problems if stuck in snow, something he'd taught his children. To investigators, it looked like a potential sign of tampering, as if to stage a breakdown. A damaged AAA card was found, along with the MapQuest directions. The box of Franzia wine was open on the passenger seat, with a red stain on the snow outside the driver's door. Her wallet, keys, and phone were gone. Her packed bag was still in the back. Search dogs were brought to the scene. The result of that search is perhaps the most critical and contested piece of evidence in the entire case. The dog followed Maura's scent for about 100 yards east along the road, in the direction she had been traveling, then stopped abruptly. The handler was certain of the interpretation. At that exact spot, she got into a vehicle. This is the central fracture point of the entire mystery, the axis on which all theories turn. Did she get into that vehicle willingly or by force? The first possibility is that she had a tandem driver, that she was not alone on her journey, but was meeting someone. This person, driving a second car, would have been her intended ride all along. The crash was an unexpected complication. This would explain her calm refusal of help from Butch Atwood. She wasn't waiting for AAA, she was waiting for her real ride. When they arrived, she locked her car, grabbed her essential items, and left with them. This theory supports a voluntary disappearance, a plan to start a new life somewhere else, perhaps in Canada. But it raises its own difficult questions. Who is this person? Why has no one ever come forward? And how has a bright, resourceful woman with a loving family remained completely hidden for 2 decades, without using her social security number, her credit, or her identity even once. To erase oneself so completely is an almost impossible feat. The second theory is far darker, and it is the one her father has always believed. Did a stranger, an opportunistic predator, happen upon the crash scene in that slim window of time? Did someone with malevolent intent see a vulnerable young woman alone on a dark road and offer a ride? An offer that a cold, scared, and desperate Maura felt she had to accept. In this scenario, the scent dog's trail ends exactly where Maura's life did, at the passenger door of a killer's car. The area is remote, but not entirely untrafficked. The FBI has investigated persons of interest over the years, locals with questionable histories, but no evidence has ever concretely connected anyone to her disappearance. It remains a terrifying, yet plausible explanation, a random act of violence that left no witnesses and no clues. And then there's the third major theory, the one that the landscape itself suggests. That Maura, disoriented from the crash, possibly intoxicated, and certainly fearing the arrival of the police and a potential DUI charge, fled. Not along the road, where she could be seen, but into the woods. She was a gifted athlete, a West Point cadet trained in land navigation. But the White Mountain Forest in February is a different kind of adversary. The snow was deep, the temperatures were sub-zero. In the darkness, a person can become disoriented in minutes. Hypothermia sets in silently, bringing confusion, then lethargy, then a final, fatal sleep. Could she have walked just far enough into the woods to be hidden from the road and succumb to the elements? Could she be out there still, just beyond the edge of the search grid, her secret kept by the winter and the silence? Extensive searches have been conducted over the years, with dogs, helicopters, and ground-penetrating radar, but the forest is vast, and it holds its secrets well. Every fact in this case is a fork in the road, a lie about a death in the family, a mysterious, emotional breakdown, a refusal of help, a 7-minute window, a scent trail that stops in the middle of a road. Each clue points in a different direction, creating a web of contradictions that has fueled a new, modern phenomenon, the rise of the armchair detective. In the 2 decades since she vanished, Maura Murray's case has become one of the internet's most enduring obsessions. Podcasts, documentary series, and online forums with tens of thousands of members have dissected every detail. They have scrutinized every photograph, debated the meaning of every statement, and floated theories ranging from the plausible to the bizarre. This digital obsession has been both a blessing and a curse. It has kept Maura's story alive, ensuring she is never forgotten. But it has also created a storm of misinformation, subjected her family to harassment, and turned a personal tragedy into a form of public entertainment. For her father, Fred Murray, the years have been a relentless, heartbreaking cycle of hope and despair. He has spent his life savings, driven thousands of miles, and organized countless searches. He has battled with law enforcement, believing they mishandled the crucial early hours of the investigation. He returns to that stretch of Route 112 every year, a lonely pilgrimage to the spot marked by a simple blue ribbon, the place where his daughter's life ended and her mystery began. He does not believe she is in the woods. He believes she was taken, and that someone, somewhere, knows something. The story of Maura Murray is not a story with an ending. It is a story of a single, frozen moment that has stretched into an eternity of not knowing. It is the story of a young woman who, for reasons we may never fully understand, drove toward the mountains seeking something, an escape, a new start, or maybe just a moment of peace. Instead, she found a void, and in that void, her story remains suspended in the cold New England air, a question whispered on the winter wind, a haunting reminder that sometimes the greatest mystery is not what happened, but how a person can simply cease to be.